Hi, Avi. Hello.
Hi, Barbara.
How are you?
I'm good. I mean, it's quarantine.
The first show you did at the Minnesota Jewish Theater Company was Natasha and the Coats.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
Oh man. It was magical in many ways. It was really like it was getting to work alongside all these artists that I've respected and watched for so long. And Charles, Miriam, Kim, Miriam Monash, I mean, all the designers, your company, like it was Muriel, who played my mother. It was just, it felt surreal for the first couple of weeks of it, to be honest, in terms of like, wow, like this is a beautiful show that I really believe in, and it's a challenging character that I really like want to tackle. And I knew I had to bring my A game because all of them were already living their A game. So I was like, but it was honestly, it was and then we all bonded. We all like got so, at least as as a cast, and Joy and Miri Monash, stage manager and director, we all kind of really like it. It felt very cohesive as a tight knit unit, and so it became. I mean, it was just so much fun. So
Well,
much.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, both shows. I mean, Shul, I felt like was the same way with everybody in that cast. So,
Great.
I think that's the. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I think that's a testament to the artists that that you that you bring in, and you really feel it in the rehearsal process, through tech, all through performances, more so than I've felt in other places. So I
Oh,
it is really a lovely experience.
I'm so glad.
Yeah,
You you have traveled a lot,
yeah.
and
Lucky.
talk a little bit about that. And then I wonder how your extensive traveling has maybe translated into your work on stage.
Yeah, it really has. As so, like as I never went to college. I wanted to just after high school, I just wanted to do theater and try it. I wanted to see, can I be professional? Is this like a thing? Is this like a viable option? Because there's so many times where you think it's not, as a at any point in your life. But then yeah, so when I was 21, I just kind of used my Israeli passport and I moved to Israel for a year. And it's a long story short. Moved to Israel for a year. I fell in love with hiking and nature and camping. So then I thought, all right, what's the next best place? New Zealand. So I applied for a New Zealand work visa, moved to New Zealand for a year. I scuba dived for the first time, and that's when I was like, cool, I want to go to Thailand and get my scuba diving certification. So then a year later, I went to Southeast Asia and I got a scuba diving certification, and then I backpacked Southeast Asia. And then there was just like many months where I'd come back here for a month or two, and then I'd go somewhere else. And whether it was for 10 days just to see a city, or whether it was for months on end to see a country, it was 4.5 years maybe of just,
Wow.
yeah. And I miss it. I miss it every day.
Yeah.
But I often say that was my theater training, because as an actor, you have like, they always talk about, you have the toolbox, right? You have the toolbox of things, of your things to grab in, and like, what can I use for this scene, or what kind of experience is similar, how did I feel in in this similar experience. So I mean, like Natasha and the Co is a perfect example. It was especially by like the second act, it was a character who broke free and got, went out into the world, and then felt crushed and lonely. And that's an example of like me when I, moved to New Zealand and I didn't know anybody. In the first couple weeks, I was like lonely, and like, do I go home? Do I like stay here? It's all these things that you just can. I've been able to draw from so many experiences that I've been through, that people I've been able to play that I can, mirror that. So
Right.
it's more realistic in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a long story, long answer for your question.
No, no. I mean, all that travel is really informing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you learn about yourself. I learned a lot about who I was in the world and what my position is, and learned about the
Right.
world, and I learned about cultures, and it's very informative, like
And
very eye-opening.
also, I think as actors, part of that life is observing other people and how they behave in the world, because we are using that in a sense to help transform ourselves into someone else as we bring ourselves to that role, right?
Oh, 100%. The characters you can meet here in Minneapolis, and then you just open up that wider picture. It's like there's a beautiful, amazing, complex people that you can I would do the same thing. I would just, anytime I see somebody, I'm like, I like you. But then I would just watch, be like, why? Like, what is it about you? And then I would try to pick them apart if I could. Like, oh, this is how you walk, or this is your cadence, how you talk, or, this is the energy you bring into a room, which to me is the interesting part about acting, is
Right, all
creating that,
those little
building.
characteristics.
Yeah, 100%. So
Um, so moving forward, I mean, you're only in your late 20s,
yeah, I feel
and
old.
no,
Old.
you've got, career options ahead of you. How do you see a life in the theater for yourself? Do you see a life in the theater for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, without any, I hope, it's a career that is unfortunately sometimes beyond your own grasp, like beyond your own control, is because you're more often than not kind of relying on, I hope I get this job, I hope this director casts me, I hope that all, unless you create your own content, which I've been lucky to do as well. But I think there's still, even with all the uncertainty and with all the, fear and all um,
All
uh,
the no's
uh,
that come up for everybody.
the rejection and even, I think it can't not be in my life now. I was 12 years old when I did my first show, and I remember instantly I was like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing," and I just kind of that never left my brain. It's like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing for my life now," and maybe it's naivete, but in one aspect or another, I'd love to. I want it as part of my life, and I'd love to be on stage for the rest of my life. And if I'm ever lucky enough to like combine traveling and theater and kind of be able to see the world and do it, who knows? I know I dream big, but we'll see. We'll see
You,
what happens.
you should dream big.
It would be ideal, to act around the world and experience it in that way.
Oh, sure. Now, you've also been a teacher. You taught at the Talmud Torah in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and Olive Preschool at Bethel Synagogue. Yeah, I love it. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I want to hear about that. Has that informed your work at all on stage? And can you share something that, I mean, I worked in the St. Paul Public Schools for 8 years.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And there are lots of little experiences that, stick with you, and maybe you have brought something to the stage. Is there something that you did that with?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the, specifically and in a broader spectrum. I think there definitely is. I mean, to answer your first question, I've worked with kids since I was like 16. It was my first job, and kind of always continued to be a thing that I love doing, because you get to see that, you get to see their little spongy brains just absorb and learn and grow. And if you're lucky, you get to be a part of that.
Right.
It's beautiful, because you get to be a uh, one of their molds, one of the ways that they can mold to be the person they are. Um, so that's why I love it. I think with theater, I remember when I first started working with kids, I worked at like a drop-in daycare, at a gym, and it was around the same time I was doing a lot of like clowning classes, a lot of like physical theater, and clowning is all about like vulnerability and openness and accepting failure and, being okay with, as they say, being in the shit, just being like uncomfortable, but like trying and wanting acceptance from your audience. There's so many aspects to it, but I just remember having those two things at the same time in my life, learning this clowning new type of theater and working with kids for the first time. I was like, they're the same. Every child is a clown. Every child is a natural born clown, and they're open and they're honest and they're, very aware and they want to please and they're hilarious. So I think years later, 12 years later, I still strive for that honesty and that sense of play. Because I remind myself, no matter how hard like theater can get or how like stuck I feel with a character or like, imposter syndrome, am I good enough? Like all those, it's called a play. It's still called a play at the end of the day. And to have that childlike, whether it's, at the forefront or not, have that childlike quality of just like, have fun, just enjoy, because this is what you want to do. I mean,
Right.
this is it. So I guess in that sense, yeah. And there's definitely been characters where I've like in a script, if I try to understand the behavior, I'm like, oh yeah, that one kid did that thing that one time. That's it. This is what he was feeling because I saw this feeling from this child,
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it is. Sorry.
I don't know much about clowning other than seeing it as a youngster, and being in the audience. And there seems to be such a vulnerability and honesty that you also see in children. Just so right there and open.
And present in the moment. Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It is. And I think that's why clowning is so unique. And that's why children are like, we lose that as we get older, this sense of play and vulnerability, because everything is goal directed.
Yes, we're goal directed and we become self-conscious.
Yes. And
about what others are thinking or observing about us. But isn't it true, being so present and in the moment is what really good acting is about?
100%. It's living and in this moment, and if something is different, you react to that little, like, I think, not getting stuck in a rhythm. Totally. I think 100% agree with you. And I think, I don't know if you know this actually, but I have this little tattoo that is to remind me. It's a play button, and it's a play button and with a repeat sign. So I can just, it's just for me, it's like, play like a child, play for the sake of theater, play for the sake of finding yourself in the world. And it's, it's like, find a new way to learn and grow. And so that's my little.
I had seen that on your arm, but I never asked you about that. And so I'm glad that you shared that.
Yeah. It was my first one.
Oh. Do you anticipate more?
Well, I have my dad's signature. So two things that are really like, I'm really satisfied with. I don't know. Yeah, I was never a tattoo person. It was just I knew that these were important to me, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah. Does that make you think at all about your Judaism?
which one?
Just
The
having tattoos?
it did. Yeah, it definitely dawned on me. My my dad was against tattoos, and a lot of my families in Israel is against tattoos. Religious. There's obviously the cultural aspect, the religious aspect. Um, but to me, I mean, Judaism is what it is to me, and what I take from it. So I don't consider myself less so, or um, it made me question how family would react. But when they saw it, I mean, I was able to explain it. There was no pushback. It was they and my brother, it helps. My brother has a sleeve, has a sleeve tattoo, so this is nothing compared to that. But yeah, no, I think I did think about it at first, but I think because they're important to me, it's my Judaism is mine, just like it's everybody else's.
Right,
Personal.
right. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's great to talk to you.
So good talking to you, Barbara.
And I hope that we'll get to see each other in person soon.
Oh, I hope. Fingers crossed. I hope.
I
Miss
know.
you. It was good to see your face.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.